All right, welcome back to the Roast It Yourself podcast brought to you by Coffee Bean Corral and Current Crop Roasting Shop. My name is Stephen Burnett, Coffee Bean Corral in Jackson, Mississippi. And not with me today, with me in spirit, is Catherine Mansell, certified Q grader and director of Current Crop Roasting Shop in New Orleans, Louisiana. Now, Catherine is almost always on these episodes. I think there's been a couple where we've not been able to coordinate her with maybe a guest speaker. She did have something come up, so she couldn't record this week with us. So I went through our backlog of questions and thought to myself, what question would Catherine just not care that much about? But I would care about, and I found one that I think fits it. Now, she might quibble with me a little bit, but I think I've established myself on this show as the espresso guy. That's the number one way I drink coffee, just because, hey, I've got a nice machine, I want to use it. And so I've got a question here from a listener of ours, a new listener, and somebody from the area, someone who lives not far from our setup here in Jackson, Mississippi. So that's pretty cool. So local guy and espresso guy. So I'm pretty excited about that. But here we go. So this is a question from Tom in Brandon, Mississippi, literally like a suburb of Jackson, Brandon, Mississippi. He says, "Hello from Brandon. It's great to find a roaster supply so close to home. I just discovered your podcast and I'm trying to catch up. I'll offer a blend to the community that I've been drinking for 33 years. So here's Tom from Brandon's recommended blend that apparently, I said 33 years. You'll see why in a second. He just said years. I don't know how old this guy is or if he's been roasting for 33, but he's been drinking for years. And here's his recipe. It's 33% Colombian, 33% Costa Rican, and 33% Kenyan. Mix after roasting. We've talked about that before, about the pros and cons of doing a pre-roast mix or blending before you roast the coffee, roasting everything together, versus a post-roast mix or blending after you've already roasted the coffee. So he prefers the latter, the post-roast mix. I got 33 years because 33, 33, 33. My brain just said, he's probably been doing this for 33 years. Who knows? But that does sound like an excellent blend. I think I've shared one that I do pretty often is, 33% Brazilian, which I find gives a nice body and nice base. 33% Colombia, Costa Rica, something like that. And then 33% African, usually Ethiopian, usually a natural. But Kenyan would be pretty nice. I think the Kenyan would be less of a would be a bit more similar, depending on the process, to the other coffees in this blend. So it might be a little more, consistent. Mine's a bit complex, which is, for me, it works well. But anyway, 33% Colombian, 33% Costa Rica, 33% Kenya. Okay, yeah, Tom, thank you for that. So that's what he wanted to offer you guys. Hope you enjoy it. But he said, here's my question. I've never gotten my steaming wand to give me any good result for a cappuccino, latte, or the like. What do I need to change to make this thing work? I have an old Krups espresso machine. So he says, thanks for the podcast. Have a fantastic day. Cheers. Okay, thanks, Tom, for the question. So your question on the steam wand technique, well, there's a couple of factors to this. One would be, and this is the number one thing, is make sure your technique is spot on. If you don't have a kind of an automatic steam wand, which it sounds like this is one you actually get to interact with, your technique can make a big difference. And there's some good stuff out there. Lance Hedrick has an amazing series of videos on steaming milk. I mean, he's just a well-known expert. He's won competitions. And he knows what he's talking about. So look on YouTube for Lance Hedrick's steaming milk. He has even, I think, a different one for different types of milk. And so, depending on what you're doing, I'm assuming just from what you're saying without any other details, that you're trying to steam, whole milk, which is pretty traditional. But I think he's got one on like oat milk and alternative milks, that kind of thing. So just look up his stuff. They're really good. James Hoffman's going to have really good stuff too. But, this is something that becomes second nature, the technique side, after you do it enough. Most of your baristas that know how to steam milk, I mean, they couldn't do it badly if they tried. They just kind of burnt that pathway into their brain, and they know how to do it. So technique is number one. The main thing, what we're trying to do when we're steaming milk is we're trying to aerate it to create enough the right amount of foam for the drink that you're trying to make, and we're trying to heat it. Both those things at the same time. Aeration can be done very well, and it looks, we call it microfoam, tiny, tiny little bubbles. If you've ever had a really good latte or something like that, it's got a thickness to it. It's got kind of a foaminess to it without being too dry. That's a good latte. Whereas if you've gotten maybe a latte or a cappuccino or milk-based drink at a coffee shop before, and it tasted like really thin, then there probably wasn't enough aeration taking place when they steamed that coffee, that milk. But sometimes you'll get them over aerated, and people like this. Some people like the really kind of styrofoamy cappuccino. It's like no liquid in it at all. It's just that much, just foam. You could form into whatever you want. You can do different shapes and things. People like that. I've never liked that. But yeah, it's going to be a matter of getting proper aeration and proper heat. We've all had the kind of, you walk into a coffee shop and you hear the screeching sound coming from the espresso machine. And the person behind the counter is probably not even looking at it. It sounds like, you threw a cat in a blender or something like that. It sounds just terrible. And I've never thrown a cat in a blender. I don't know why that popped in my head. Don't judge me. But that screeching sound is bad technique. It's bad technique. Probably that drink is going to be really, really hot, like scalds your tongue, can't taste anything after a while hot. So anyway, good technique is going to be part of this. The other part of it, depending on the machine you've got, is is it building enough pressure to properly to cause the vortex that needs to happen inside the milk pitcher. Now, obviously, I'm just talking to you. This is a podcast. I'm not going to be, showing you how to do that on here. There's other videos you can look at that will help you with that. But you have to have enough force where if you have the right technique, the force of the steam should be able to aerate the coffee and get a nice vortex going. The vortex does a couple things. It mixes it, ensures consistent heating, consistent delivery of that. But also, the vortex will prevent these big bubbles, these huge bubbles from forming on top. If you've ever, when you were a kid, or maybe as an adult, you ever get like a glass of chocolate milk and you blow bubbles in it, those bubbles just form, fill the whole glass up. I'm basically a child. You guys should know that. Yeah, that's what you don't want. You don't want the big bubbles in your latte or in your cappuccino in the milk foam. You want nice, tight, microfoam, tiny, tiny little bubbles in there. I've heard, Lance, one of his things is Lance Hedrick, one of his things is if you have your pitcher, you finish steaming your milk, if you swirl the milk inside the pitcher, you should still be able to see the wall of the pitcher through the milk. If you stir it and you swish it around a little bit, and so much foam piles up that you can't see the side wall of the inside of your pitcher, it's too much aeration, too much of the foam. And if it doesn't stick at all, you don't have nearly enough. So there's some technique things you can do. Again, you can't create something if the tool you're using, this old, I don't know how old, I don't know what model, but the old kind of, Krups or store-bought, espresso machine, if it doesn't have the juice to do that, it doesn't have the juice to do that. And then, you're just kind of stuck with what you've got until you upgrade. Now, people have, there are things on the market that can help you aerate. You can get those little wands that have it's basically a small little blender, tiny little wand that is meant to really stir that coffee and create that rotation, create that aeration. You can do that. There are ways, there are hacks around it to get a good cup of coffee, but there's really no substitute for an adequate tool and good technique to get that done. But yeah, if you haven't done the research on the technique, like if a lot of people, like myself, you get in there, you put the milk in the pitcher, in the wand, turn it on, and then this is not coming out good. If that's what you're doing, definitely work on that technique. If you've watched the videos, if I'm not the first person you've asked, if you've looked into this more than that, I imagine that's the case. It may just be that your steam wand doesn't have the umph, or maybe it has the umph, but because it's got such a small boiler, it doesn't have the umph long enough to deliver enough of that force and enough of that steam to heat the coffee and to provide good aeration. So it could be a tool, could be a user, but I would try. I mean, that's something that's really cool about coffee is that even if you don't have the right tool, there are hacks. There are absolutely hacks. It's kind of a common thing. This is just an example in our industry that you want a burr grinder, you don't want a blade grinder or a chop grinder. Burr grinder is more even grind. Well, it's true. I've seen a video where a guy, it was great, and the guy was like, look, all I've got is this chop grinder. I'm trying to show that you can get an even grind. You just got to do some extra steps. So he grinds with the chop grinder while shaking the chop grinder. Okay. And what that does is that kept, how in the chop grinder, sometimes the coffee will pack into the side and the stuff closest to the blade is like powder and the stuff on the outside closest to the wall is still like half a bean. Well, if you do this, if you shake it, it mixes it more evenly. Then he poured it onto a paper towel, and he used the paper towel to catch all the fines, the really fine ground coffee, and he blended it again in the chop grinder. So the point is, cheap tool, not the best tool, but he found a workaround in the form of him doing a lot of extra work to make up for that. So maybe there's a solution for you, in the Krups world, what you're doing right now to aerate this coffee better. Okay, look, Catherine's not here to tell me I can't do this, so I'm just going to do it. I'm going to come up with a crackpot idea on the spot that I don't know if it's going to work, and you, Tom, get to tell me if it's going to work. Now you know where I work here, so please don't. If it doesn't work out, don't get mad at me and come down here. But here's a thought: if you're having trouble getting the aeration while it's steaming, get one of those little blendy wand things and just stick it in the bottom. Press go while you're holding the cup while you're steaming. Seems like that would help with the rotation, deliver the steam and aeration evenly. Maybe that'll work. I don't know. I would love for you to try that and tell me if that's a decent solution to getting you what you're looking for in espresso. But point is, that was just off the top of my head. Who knows if that'll work or not? Guys, this is the coffee world. This is the home roaster world. We are scrappy. We will come up with stuff. We're a little bit redneck. We will come up with solutions to problems, whether we've got the money or not, to get the proper tool. So yeah, Tom from Brandon, that's my answer. Now, I know Catherine's not here, so I certainly did not cover everything that could have been covered, did not say everything that could be said. Her absence this week is greatly missed. So that means, guys, I say this every week, but it's even more so important now. You've got to fill in what I left out. Otherwise, I'm just out here doing this myself. I need you listeners to go into the comment section and to share tips with Tom, what you would do if you've had a similar model, one of the kind of old school, Walmart espresso machines. How are you able to get a good milk foam out of that? How are you able to get the right mix? Is it a technique thing? Do these tools have the umph to do it? Does Tom just need to learn more technique? Or is there something like the little blender thingy or some other solution that you found that works? Any and all such comments are super welcome, because we would love to see this podcast continue to grow and take over the world and get more people into coffee, and more people that maybe don't have all the tools and all the money to throw on the tools, but they have the ability to enjoy coffee the way that we all do, because we're here to help them figure out how to do it with what they've got. We want to make that happen. We can't do that without you liking and sharing, subscribing if you haven't done that. Come on, why haven't you done that yet? We've been on for this is 59 episodes, I think. I think next episode is 60. So you've had plenty of time. Now's the time. Go ahead and subscribe, like it, share it, all that good stuff. We could not do this also without the folks that make us look and sound good. We're going to not look as good this week. I'm just going to tell you that right now. It's just me. Catherine's not here to make us look better. Okay, so it's just me. So if we look great, if this is a great episode, it's not because of me. It's because of the people that work here, that make us look and sound good, that edit the video, that edit the audio, and make this whole thing work well. So that's awesome. Please remember, send your questions, any questions you have, just like Tom did. You don't have to live in Brandon to send a question. You can live anywhere in the world and send us a question about coffee roasting, coffee tasting, coffee enjoying. That's what we're here for. So please send those questions to questions@riypod.com. Otherwise, have a great day and happy roasting.